The sound came first. Low, heavy, like distant thunder crawling across the street. Aaliyah Carter froze. Her small fingers tightened around the frayed strap of her school backpack as the rumble of engines grew louder. One by one, massive motorcycles rolled into the narrow street, chrome glinting under the fading afternoon sun. Leather jackets, heavy boots, tattoos crawling up thick arms like living scars. The hell's Angelsz? 9-year-old Aaliyah stood completely still outside the corner repair shop, her breath caught somewhere between fear and disbelief. She had seen them before. Everyone in this neighborhood had. When they came, people disappeared into their houses. Windows shut, doors locked, silence followed. But today, Aaliyah hadn't made it home in time. Her mother, Maria Carter, was late at the cleaning job across town. Aaliyah had waited too long. The bikes stopped in a perfect, terrifying line. Jack Grim Hollister swung his leg off his motorcycle slowly, deliberately, like a king stepping down from his throne. His beard was streaked with grey, his eyes cold and unreadable. He scanned the street with practiced authority, his gaze landing on Aaliyah. She felt it like a weight pressing on her chest. "Don't start your bikes," she whispered. The words slipped out before she even realized she'd spoken. Every sound died. Ryan Cole laughed first, a harsh, mocking sound. "You hear that, Grim? The kid's giving orders now." Jack raised a hand. Silence returned instantly. Aaliyah's legs trembled. She could feel her heart pounding in her ears. She remembered her father's voice, Daniel Carter, soft, warm, telling her to stand tall even when she was afraid. But her father was gone. Jack took a step toward her, then another. Up close he smelled of oil and smoke. Power radiated from him. He looked down at her like she was something fragile and inconvenient. "Why shouldn't we?" he asked calmly. Aaliyah swallowed hard. Her eyes burned, but she refused to cry. Because you'll scare my mama," she said, and she already scared enough. A flicker passed through Jack's eyes, gone as quickly as it came. "Move along, kid," Ryan snapped. "This ain't your street." "It is," Aaliyah whispered. "I live here." Behind her, Marcus Reed watched from the shadows of the repair shop doorway. His hands shook as he gripped a greasy rag. He knew these men, he knew what they did, and he knew how little a child's life mattered to them. Or so he thought. Tom Walker peeked from behind his store window, his face pale. He didn't intervene. None of them ever did. Jack crouched down until he was eye level with Aaliyah. "What's your name?" he asked. "It's Aaliyah. Where's your father, Aaliyah?" The question landed like a blade. Aaliyah's voice cracked. He died. Something shifted. Jack stood abruptly. "Start the bikes," he ordered. Aaliyah flinched. Engines roared to life all around her. The sound swallowed the street, vibrating through her bones. She dropped her backpack, covering her ears as tears finally spilled down her cheeks. And then, a black luxury car stopped at the edge of the street. The engine cut off. The door opened. Evelyn Brooks stepped out. Her heels clicked sharply against the pavement as she took in the scene, the bikers, the child, the fear hanging thick in the air. Her eyes locked on Aaliyah first, then slowly lifted to Jack. Jack froze. The engines died one by one. Complete silence. Evelyn's face drained of color. She knew him. And he knew her. The past had just arrived. The street seemed to hold its breath. Even the rumble of distant traffic faded into silence. Aaliyah hugged herself tightly, feeling the weight of every stare on her small frame. Her eyes flicked from Jack Grim Hollister to the sleek black car. Evelyn Brooks' presence sent shivers down her spine. Something about her made the bikers pause, a recognition unspoken but palpable. Jack ran a hand through his beard, conflicted. He had seen Evelyn before decades ago, in a life he had tried to bury. And now she stood here, as pristine and untouchable as ever, in heels that could crush more than just his pride. "Evelyn," he said cautiously, "I didn't expect you." Her eyes, a sharp green, narrowed. "You think you can just roll through this neighborhood and terrorize people without consequences, Jack, after everything?" Ryan Cole snorted behind him. "Oh, this is gonna be good." Jack shot him a look, silencing him instantly. Aaliyah's small voice quavered. Who is she?" "Someone who knows," Marcus Reed muttered from the shadows. His eyes never left the tension between the adults, someone from the old days. Evelyn's gaze softened as it shifted to Aaliyah. She knelt slightly, meeting the girl's eyes. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" Aaliyah shook her head, trembling. I'm scared." "You're safe for now," Evelyn whispered, almost to herself. Jack's jaw tightened. He had never been a man to hesitate, but something about Evelyn's presence, it unsettled him. The Hells Angels were supposed to be untouchable. Their reputation, a mix of fear and brutality, was enough to keep everyone in line. Yet here in this small street, the balance had shifted, just slightly. "Let's talk somewhere private," Evelyn said firmly. The bikers exchanged wary glances. Jack's hand hovered near his belt, instinctively ready, but he did not move. Something told him this confrontation was different. As the group moved toward a nearby abandoned warehouse, Aaliyah and Marcus trailed behind. She had questions, and Marcus, though cautious, felt compelled to stay. Inside the warehouse, dust danced in the slanted rays of light breaking through cracked windows. Shadows stretched across concrete floors like fingers trying to hold secrets in place. Evelyn faced Jack, her arms crossed. "You destroyed lives back then," she began. Her voice was steady, controlled, but each word dripped with accusation. "People trusted you. People died because of your choices." Jack's eyes hardened. "We were young, it wasn't like that." "It always is like that," she shot back. "Actions have consequences, Jack. You know it, I know it. And now, you're not the only one paying attention." Aaliyah, peeking from behind Marcus, didn't fully understand the history, but she could sense the danger. Her pulse raced as she thought about her mother, working so hard, trusting that her daughter would be safe. How could adults let such fear roam the streets? Ryan Cole leaned against a beam, smirking. "Kid's cute, should we scare her some more?" Jack's glare froze him mid-laugh. Something in his chest twisted. Shame, regret, maybe fear. He had never wanted this to touch the innocent. And yet, that was exactly what he had done. Suddenly, a metallic clang echoed from above. A loose pipe fell, bouncing off the concrete floor. Everyone jumped. Aaliyah screamed, her voice slicing through the tension like a knife. The bikers instinctively reacted, and in that split second, a door at the far end of the warehouse creaked open. A shadow stepped through, a tall man in a worn leather jacket, helmet in hand. His eyes were dark, unreadable, but there was a familiarity in the way he scanned the room. "Jack," he said softly, almost like a warning. Jack froze, recognition flared. This wasn't just another rival. This was someone from the old world of promises, debts, and betrayals. Aaliyah's heart pounded. She didn't know who this man was, but she knew fear, and she recognized it in everyone else in the room. Evelyn took a step forward. "I warned you, Jack, the past doesn't stay buried." And with that, the air in the warehouse shifted. The Hells Angels, usually untouchable, looked small and human, exposed to consequences they hadn't faced in decades. Aaliyah clutched Marcus's arm. Her trembling wasn't just fear anymore, it was anticipation. Something was coming, something the bikers hadn't expected. The shadowed man removed his helmet. The room went deathly quiet. And then a faint but unmistakable gasp escaped Evelyn. The past had returned, and nothing would ever be the same. The man removed his helmet slowly. The light caught the scars etched across his face, each line a story of betrayal and survival. Aaliyah's eyes widened as she took in the intensity radiating from him. "Grim," he said, voice low but commanding, "it's been a long time." Jack swallowed hard. Memories, painful, dangerous memories, flooded back. He had thought this man, Victor Kane, was gone forever, lost to a deal gone wrong decades ago. But here he was, alive and standing in a warehouse full of secrets. Evelyn's hand went to her mouth. "Victor," she whispered, disbelief in her eyes. The tension in the room became unbearable. Even Ryan Cole, usually brimming with bravado, stiffened. The air smelled of oil, dust, and fear. Marcus Reed stepped protectively in front of Aaliyah. Who is he?" she asked, voice barely audible. Evelyn stepped forward. "He's from the world Jack tried to escape, the people he wronged, and now they've returned." Jack clenched his fists. "Victor, I didn't think." Victor cut him off with a sharp motion. "Save it, I've heard enough excuses. Lives were destroyed, Jack, innocence hurt. And now it's not just about the past, it's about consequences." Aaliyah's small hands trembled. She had never seen adults like this, so powerful, yet so human, and suddenly so vulnerable. The fear that had consumed her moments ago was now mixed with fascination. "Why are you here?" Jack demanded, voice rising. "This is my street, my territory." Victor's lips curled into a cold smile. Territory, you think fear is ownership. You've been hiding behind children, Jack, and now it's your turn to feel it. Aaliyah flinched. She felt a strange sense of courage rising from somewhere deep inside. She wanted to protect her mother, her home, and maybe, in some way, these broken adults too. I don't want anyone to get hurt, she whispered, almost to herself, yet loud enough for them to hear. Jack's head snapped toward her. Kid, stay out of this. But she didn't move. She couldn't. Her gaze was steady, small but unyielding. Somehow in that moment, she became the moral compass in the room. Evelyn cleared her throat. Jack, remember the promise, the one you made long ago. Jack froze. He hadn't thought about it in years. A promise buried deep, forgotten by most, but not by Evelyn or Victor. Victor took a slow step forward. You've run from your choices, Jack, and now the world is catching up. Suddenly, Ryan Cole made a move, reckless, impulsive. He lunged toward Aaliyah, intending to intimidate her, but before he could touch her, a loud crash echoed from above. A rafter snapped, sending a beam swinging dangerously close to him. He stumbled back, heart racing, and tripped over Marcus's foot. Aaliyah gasped, her small voice cut through the chaos. Stop, please just stop. The room went silent again. Victor's eyes softened, not for Jack, but for the child. She's right, he said. This ends now, or everyone pays. Jack felt something unfamiliar, guilt, shame, and fear all tangled together. For the first time, he realized the power he had wielded was fragile, and the world he thought he controlled could crumble in an instant. Evelyn stepped closer to Aaliyah, kneeling down. You did that, she said softly. Your courage, it's already changing them. Aaliyah blinked. Me? Yes, you, Evelyn smiled. Sometimes the smallest voice has the loudest echo. Marcus Reed nodded. He had been a silent witness for years, and now he understood. The child wasn't just afraid, she was the spark. Jack lowered his head. Ryan looked around, unsettled. Victor's stare pierced them all. The balance had shifted. And just as the tension seemed unbearable, a deafening roar shook the warehouse. The doors slammed open. More motorcycles. Another Hell's Angels faction, larger, darker, more ruthless. The first confrontation had escalated beyond anyone's imagination. Aaliyah clutched Marcus tightly. Her fear was back, but it was different now. This wasn't helplessness. This was the moment before a storm, and somehow, deep down, she knew her voice mattered. The past had returned, and the future was about to collide violently with it. The warehouse vibrated with tension, every footstep echoing like a drumbeat of judgment. Jack Grimm Hollister stood frozen, the weight of decades pressing down on him. He had ruled through fear for so long that the thought of someone, especially a child, challenging his authority felt impossible. Yet here it was. Victor Kane's eyes burned with unyielding intensity. You thought you could hide behind leather and engines, he said, but power built on fear is fragile, and fragile things break easily. Jack's hands trembled. He had spent his life controlling others, making them bend to his will. But for the first time, he felt completely powerless. The child Aaliyah, whose trembling had once seemed insignificant, now held the moral high ground. Please don't start the fighting, Aaliyah whispered, stepping slightly forward. It won't solve anything. Ryan Cole barked a laugh. What is this? The kid's giving orders now. That's rich. But even he paused when Evelyn's gaze bore into him. Her voice was cold and precise. Stop now, or you'll regret it. The warehouse was no longer just a space of intimidation. It had become a mirror. Every man there confronted the truth of their lives, misused power, past crimes, and choices that had hurt innocence. Jack's mind raced. Memories of families terrorized, of promises broken, of nights spent laughing at fear, they all came flooding back. His carefully constructed image of dominance began to crumble. The facade was cracking, revealing a man who had long avoided facing himself. Victor moved closer. Fear isn't control, Jack. Fear is weakness, and weakness is dangerous when you hide from it. Jack's eyes fell to Aaliyah. She was trembling, yes, but there was a spark there, something unbreakable. Her courage shamed him in ways he couldn't articulate. Marcus Reed whispered, "This is what years of injustice look like. When the walls crumble, everyone sees the truth." Jack's face turned pale. I never wanted it to go this far, he admitted, voice breaking. Victor's jaw tightened. Then maybe now you'll understand what responsibility truly means. Maybe now you'll learn that life isn't a game of intimidation, it's about choices. The tension exploded when Ryan made another reckless move, lunging toward Jack in anger. But Jack, for the first time, didn't fight back with power. He stepped aside, letting Ryan stumble forward, exposing the vulnerability of unchecked aggression. Aaliyah gasped, her small hand covered her mouth. The realization hit her. These men, so terrifying moments ago, were just people. Fragile, flawed people. Suddenly, a loud crash reverberated as Tom Walker, the timid shop owner from the street, kicked over a stack of metal barrels near the warehouse entrance. Sparks flew, catching the attention of the new biker faction outside. Their engines roared in confusion. The chaotic moment forced everyone to reassess. The new bikers hesitated. They were formidable, yes, but even they could sense the moral shift inside the warehouse, a crack in the dominance Jack had once wielded effortlessly. Evelyn took a step closer to Aaliyah. "You see, sometimes, the smallest presence can change everything," she said softly. Aaliyah blinked, a mixture of fear and awe on her face. "Me?" "Yes, you," Evelyn smiled. "Your courage has reminded them that power isn't the same as right. It's a lesson some of them needed to learn the hard way." Jack sank to his knees, the weight of his life's decisions pressing him down. The man who once ruled with fear now faced the consequences of a world he had tried to dominate. Victor Kane's gaze swept the room. "Let this be a lesson to everyone here. True strength comes from empathy, courage, and choices that don't harm the innocent." Aaliyah took a hesitant step forward, then another. Slowly, deliberately, she reached out her small hand toward Jack. Jack looked at it, confused. "What?" "You have a choice," she whispered. "You can do better. Start here. Start now." For the first time in decades, Jack felt the possibility of redemption. Not in words, not in actions imposed on others, but in something small, human, and courageous. The new bikers outside finally revved their engines, unsure what to do, sensing the collapse of authority they had expected to follow blindly. The warehouse was no longer a prison of fear, it had become a stage of transformation. And in that silence, broken only by faint echoes of shifting metal and distant engines, Aaliyah realized something profound. Even in the face of overwhelming power, one voice, one act of courage could ignite change. The warehouse air had changed. What had once been thick with intimidation and fear now felt charged with reflection and fragile hope. Jack Grim Hollister sat on the cold concrete floor, his hands pressed against his knees, staring at the small figure of Aaliyah. She had grown in courage beyond her years in these tense hours, and now, with each moment, she seemed to radiate a quiet authority. Victor Kane stepped back, allowing the tension to settle. "It's over," he said, but the weight behind his words carried decades of consequences. "For now." Ryan Cole muttered under his breath, "Over. It feels like the beginning of something worse." "No," Jack interrupted, voice trembling. It's the beginning of change." He swallowed hard, the admission bitter yet freeing. I've lived my life hurting people, hiding behind fear, behind motorcycles, behind loyalty to an illusion of power. But it stops here. I'll make it right." Aaliyah's wide eyes softened. She had never expected these words from the man who had terrified her earlier. She wanted to believe him. She had to. Evelyn stepped forward. "You can't undo the past," she said gently, "but you can choose to act differently today. It's never too late to redeem yourself." Outside, the revving of the hesitant biker faction had dwindled to silence. The threat that seemed insurmountable had been defused, not through violence, but through courage, conscience, and the unexpected voice of a child. Jack's gaze shifted to Marcus Reed, standing near Aaliyah. I don't deserve your forgiveness," he admitted quietly. Marcus's eyes were steady. "You might not deserve it, Jack, but redemption isn't about deserving, it's about choosing to do better." Jack nodded slowly, the enormity of his choices weighing on him. He looked around the warehouse, at Ryan, at Victor, at the shaken yet hopeful bikers. He realized the world was fragile, human, and unforgiving, but also capable of transformation if one dared to act with conscience. Aaliyah took a cautious step forward, her small hand still extended. Jack hesitated, then slowly reached out, letting her tiny fingers brush against his. A silent truce passed between them, one that would ripple beyond the warehouse walls. The engines outside started again, but this time they rolled by silently, like a shadow of what could have been. The bikers had been forced to confront themselves, their hierarchy shaken, their reputations questioned. Victor Kane turned to Jack. "This is your moment," he said. "Make it count. Show the world that you can be more than the fear you've sown." Jack exhaled a long, shuddering breath. "I will," he promised. "I swear, I'll make amends where I can." Evelyn gave a soft smile, looking at Aaliyah. "You see, sometimes the smallest spark ignites the largest change." Aaliyah nodded, feeling both pride and exhaustion. The terror she had faced had been immense, but it had also revealed a power she never knew she had. she realized that empathy, courage, and moral clarity could topple even the strongest walls of fear. As they exited the warehouse, sunlight spilling through the cracked doors, the street outside seemed different, smaller, brighter, alive. Neighbors peeked from windows and doors, unsure yet hopeful. Jack walked beside Aaliyah, not as a leader of fear, but as a man beginning to understand responsibility. The Hells Angels' shadow had receded, replaced by the possibility of change. And as Aaliyah glanced back at the warehouse, she realized the world had tested her, and she had emerged, trembling at first, but unbroken. The storm had passed, but its lessons, the lessons of courage, empathy, and redemption, would linger far longer than any roar of engines ever could. The street outside the warehouse was quiet now, bathed in the soft glow of the morning sun. Shadows of the past lingered in every corner, yet for the first time, they felt smaller, diminished by courage and choice. Aaliyah Carter walked slowly, her small feet crunching over scattered gravel. Her heart still raced, but it was no longer terror, it was a quiet triumph. She had faced fear head-on, and in doing so, she had shifted the balance of power in her neighborhood. Jack Grimm Hollister followed, his posture humbled. The once untouchable Hells Angels leader had faced the collapse of his empire of intimidation and emerged as something fragile, human, and accountable. For the first time in decades, he understood the weight of every action, every decision, every life he had touched. Victor Kane remained behind, leaning against the warehouse wall, a silent guardian of the truth. He had returned not to punish, but to reveal, a reckoning not through violence, but through conscience. Evelyn Brooks walked beside Aaliyah, a reassuring presence. "You've learned something today," she said softly, "that most people never realize in a lifetime. Courage and empathy are stronger than fear. And sometimes, even the smallest voice can change the course of lives." Aaliyah looked up at her, eyes wide. I did that." "Yes, you did," Evelyn replied. "And that will stay with you forever. You've seen what fear can do, and you've also seen how compassion and courage can heal it." Marcus Reed placed a hand gently on Aaliyah's shoulder. "Life isn't always fair, kid, but it does give us moments to make it right. You just witnessed one." Jack's voice, rough and uncertain, broke the quiet. I don't deserve this chance, but I promise I'll try. I'll make things right where I can." Aaliyah's small hand reached for his again, this time with the confidence of someone who had seen fear transformed into accountability. "You can start now," she said. Ryan Cole and the other bikers had started their engines quietly, leaving the street with a mix of awe, confusion, and the faintest hint of respect. Even hardened hearts could bend under the weight of truth, and today they had been forced to witness it. The neighborhood slowly awakened, windows opened, children stepped outside, curious, sensing something had changed. Adults whispered, cautiously hopeful, aware that something extraordinary had happened here. Aaliyah turned back toward the warehouse one last time. The shadows that had terrified her hours before were gone, or at least diminished. The lessons of courage, empathy, and moral clarity had taken root in those who had once seemed untouchable. She realized life was full of challenges, fearsome and unexpected, but also full of opportunities to stand firm, to act with integrity, and to inspire change. One voice, one brave act could ripple far beyond its origin. As she walked home with Evelyn and Marcus beside her, the sun rose higher, illuminating a street that now seemed alive with possibility. The past had collided with the present, and the future, though uncertain, felt brighter than ever. For Aaliyah, the trembling little girl who had whispered, "Don't start your bikes," had grown into someone who understood that fear was powerful, yes, but courage, empathy, and choice were stronger, and in that strength lay the lessons that would guide her forever. The Hells Angels had been silenced, not by violence but by conscience, and the world had learned a lesson it would not forget. True power lies not in domination, but in the humanity we show to each other.